All right, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. If you could let me know if you can hear me real quick, just to make sure everything works properly. I've mostly gotten rid of the weird audio bugs, but always good to know if you can hear me okay. We are here to talk about finding things in Jira. This, for me, was one of the most confusing parts of learning Jira, and it's one thing I regularly hear as being a challenge. Tonya, welcome. Good to see you. Noreen, welcome back. Um, I forget if I've shared, I've been fortunate to travel to Manila several times. One of the jobs I had an office there, and that's where I learned a lot about Jira Service Management, working with a team of about 25 folks who handled HR tickets. Barbara, welcome. Victoria is from SEPA, Southeastern Pennsylvania. I haven't heard that acronym before. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know you can hear me. Lisa, welcome from the UK. Ansa, welcome back from France. So, we're here to talk about finding things in Jira. I don't call this searching in Jira because searching for me is something I do when I'm looking for something and don't know if I'll find it. So I titled this Finding Things in Jira because I'll show you ways to actually find things and not just look around. But you could call this, learning how to use Jira search. Bruce, welcome from Minneapolis. George, East Lansing, Michigan. Another George, that's going to be confusing. Welcome from Romania. We got Myra from Brazil. I absolutely love that folks from all over the place are able to come together in these. So like most of my online learnings, for the live sessions, we're going to start with some slides to orient us to make sure we all understand some basic ideas and concepts and things. And then after that, we are going to get into Jira Cloud Premium. I'm pretty sure everything I'm going to show you will work in any flavor of Jira. I'll do my best to call out things that don't. The biggest exception is going to be Atlassian Intelligence. If we end up talking about that, that's only going to be in Premium and Enterprise Cloud. I'm going to pronounce that as Jay Gary. Welcome from Ontario. Fernando from Chile. Good to see you. So we're going to pop into some slides. Many of you have already found the chat, and I'll talk about the chat in just a minute. First, many of you have already been in one of these sessions with me, which is also incredible. I never thought folks would want to keep coming back to learn with me. But to introduce myself, my name is Rob, and I have had a career in information technology and in systems. So my job started as the person who would give you a monitor and install your desktop. And now it's called a systems manager. I help teams figure out how to use their technology. One of those systems is Jira, which I've been using for about 10 years. I began using Jira as a customer. I'd put in a ticket if something broke, and I had no training in Jira. And that made it very challenging even to put in tickets, I'll be honest, because I didn't understand the interface. I didn't understand concepts, like what is a project? What's the issue key? You'll hear that sound effect if I use a word I'm not supposed to use. I'm curious if anyone in the chat knows the word that I'm not supposed to use now. And curious if you know what the appropriate word is for that thing that I'm not allowed to talk about. So I've been using Jira about 10 years, and I learned a lot of it by doing. I was very fortunate as well to have folks at companies I worked at who were very good at Jira, much better than I am, and they helped me. Yes, Justin has nailed it. Yeah, it is not. I'm not going to say this word out loud. Victoria is correct. It's now work item. So is Justin. Thank you. I'm trying to do my best to use the appropriate terms, but I will probably get these two things mixed up. Beatrice, welcome from Alabama. Glad you could make it. So I'm trying to keep myself honest with some random sound effects. So if you hear those, that's why. And if they're too loud, please tell me and I'll correct it. Victoria is doing their best to help ChatGPT use the right terms. I love that. I wonder how long it'll take ChatGPT to catch up with everything. But I learned how to find things in Jira mostly just by, I say, beating my head into the keyboard. And it's a very frustrating experience because if you don't understand how it can work, it's very challenging to use it. Now, many of you have already found the chat. Please use it to communicate. Use it to ask questions. Use it to ask for clarification. Use it to let me know if I'm doing something wrong. But use it to help each other. There are a ton of smart people in the chat. And I know that because there's just a lot of smart people around. But a lot of the people already chatting I've interacted with before online. So please, if you see a question and you have an answer, drop it in there. I will also ask you questions during this. You saw me ask you one a moment ago about my audio or about, if you can hear me okay. So please use the chat to also help each other, because this isn't just about you learning from Rob or Rob talking for an hour about searching for things in Jira. It's going to be about us all supporting each other. And I learn a lot in these sessions as well, so please help me get better as we go. Also, please hit that like and subscribe button. That lets me know if you enjoyed these trainings. I'm going to be adding more like this, like one-off topics and things that I think people will find interesting. But if you have a specific topic that you're like, hey, I really want to learn about making dashboards in Jira, or how do I use analytics in Confluence, please share. And then I can go make that. I can make it a video. I can make it a live learning. And this is recorded on my YouTube, so if you miss it or have to step away for work or family or anything else, it'll all be right here. Uh-oh, and now Rodney's telling us it's now a work element. I'm going to have to go fact check that, Rodney. I'll share a short in a bit about the whole word I'm not supposed to say. So again, we're going to start with some basic concepts, and we're going to start out just what is Jira. I don't want to assume folks have a lot of in-depth knowledge about it, so I want to orient us and make sure we all understand what is this system. And then we're going to talk about how Jira stores and manages work items. This is important to understand at a conceptual level because it will make it easier for you to go search for things. It'll make it easier for you to understand why and how the system works. And will make it easier to kind of troubleshoot and figure out what's going on. Next, we'll talk about the search bar, which they've fixed in the new UI or made easier to find. And we're going to be using the new UI for all of this. So if your system looks slightly different, just look up at the top for the filters menu, and I'll point that out in a moment. And then we'll talk about what they call the basic search. You'll see me put it in big quotes a lot because it's really a rather powerful tool. And that makes it very easy to find things if we know how to use it. And then we're going to get hands-on. So a bit of concept, and then we'll actually dig into Jira and talk about this stuff. So our first question is, do you use Jira? And what for? Jira is that, I'll call it a work management system, a ticketing system made by Atlassian that helps teams manage and organize work. And there's many ways to use it, but how do you use it? Or if you don't use it, how are you looking at or considering using it? And while we're all contemplating that, I'll just remind folks that we have a Discord server. This is a place to get live chat with the group between sessions. So I set that up to give folks another place to go to interact and work in between these sessions, but also to get live back and forth and not just a forum post. Projects monitoring from Noreen. We've got the service desk from Justin. Barbara tracking tasks. Yeah, there's no real wrong way to use it. I think Domino's Pizza uses it to design new pizzas, which I think is pretty cool. George is just straight up managing work, period, full stop. Love that. And there's common use cases, then there are things that we think of stereotypically, things like software development. Software developers use Jira to make software. Yes, they do. Support teams use Jira to manage how they support customers. Yes, they do. Project managers use it, yes, but also individuals use it personally to do things like manage or track or plan out a vacation or manage your book collection or anything. Beatrice, this is how I started using it. I used it to point out bugs to an engineering team. So the engineering team would build their software and track that with Jira, but they would also use Jira to track bug reports from users like me. Now within Jira, the thing that we typically look for is a work item. And this is that thing that I'm not allowed to say anymore. I'll see if I can go find it. This is the old name for a work item on the screen. So you will still see this in older documentation in my Udemy courses because I haven't updated yet. But this is the main thing we think about when we think about Jira. It's the thing we're working on. And the work item can represent almost anything you need to do. In this screenshot, it's using regex, which is a tool to look for text, essentially. But a work item could be my laptop broke and I need a new one. A work item could be the server is offline. A work item could be we ran out of cheese. That example came up in a training yesterday. Um, Victoria's team uses it for multiple purposes. So different teams in an organization can use it for different things to track everything. So the idea behind Jira is everything we do is in one spot, so we can then track and manage it. And we can also then break that down into smaller pieces. We can connect work. We can see if there are things happening across our organization that we can then help manage and fix. Now, within a single work item, we're going to see a number of fields, they're called. Now, these arrows don't point at all possible fields, and my big fat head is in the way. Excuse me just a minute. Let me shrink my big fat head. There we go. Tickets are just pieces of information on the work item. Now, every ticket will always have a key, and that is going to be the one in the top left. And the key is going to be a combination of the project name, so RTS is the abbreviation for this particular project. And that's always found kind of up here. And then an issue... I need my soundboard to be easier to find, team. Wah, wah. I use the word. And then a work item will also always have a summary, which is this thing up at the top. Depending on how your organization has set up Jira, there will be different fields available. And so the fields are dependent essentially on the type of work item you're working on. So the ones you see when you go into your... I got to find a way to keep score, don't I? Maybe throughout a week, I'll track the total number of times I say that forbidden word. So the exact fields you see when you open a work item will differ based on how your organization happens to be set up. So when you go into your version of Jira and it doesn't look exactly like this, that's completely okay. But just keep in mind that every work item has some number of fields that you're going to be using to find work. And this is where an important concept that I finally figured out is how do I think about, in my mind, how do I consider how it handles these work items and how does it store this information? Now, I mentioned that the fields that you see on your work items will differ, and that's true in two ways. The first, the fields that are available, for example, there's one here called labels. That's actually a bad example. Actually, yeah, let's pretend that this one here. The field called label comes with Jira. Now, it may show up in different spots too on this screen. It may be hidden down under more fields if you don't use it. It may show up under pinned fields if you've pinned it. And it may be right in the middle if you use it a lot and Jira thinks that you like it. There are other fields that your team may have created that are custom fields that might relate to something that your organization does that's special or different than what other organizations might use. Excuse me. So we'll come back to this concept of fields quite a bit because it's central to how we are going to find and locate those work items in the system. Now, the way we do that is through search. And there is a search bar in Jira, which is something I didn't really know was there. That's actually not a bad one. I got to go find that. Justin, you just gave yourself some homework, my friend. If you can find that for me. And here is just a humorous short on that name I'm not supposed to say. Something I threw together when I was a little bit bored. The search for me in the old UI was kind of hidden up in the top corner. I honestly didn't use that search menu much because by the time I had found it, I was already using JQuil or JQL. We'll talk about JQuil next week, and I'll just draw it on here so folks know what I'm babbling about. I'm really bad at drawing with this pen still. I'm learning QL. We're talking about just the basic search, which includes this search bar though. And this search bar is a very great way to quickly find stuff. And I'll show you a hotkey, which is just the / or the question mark to quickly open it. But this is a very easy, quick way to find specific work items so you can get there. Oh, I thought I had turned those off. How do I make those stop? Thank you for telling me. There we go. That should do it. I'm sorry about that, Tushar. That should not happen anymore. And I will go through and make a note to myself to turn that off everywhere. Turn off ads. Thank you for telling me. That is a great use of the chat. My goal with these live sessions is they are a good learning experience for all of you. So if there's anything getting in the way of that, like an ad roll, please flag it in chat. That should be turned off. If you see one again, please let me know. And I'll find a way to apologize to everyone. Maybe through some act of contrition, like singing a funny song. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking. So, search filters. When we search, it's going to look for text on the work item. Of course, Tushar, apologies. It's going to search on the work item, but you can also filter down. So when we think of the work item, there is a lot of different fields on it. We might just restrict our search to a certain time period when it was updated. Maybe I know the work item came in the past week, so I want to restrict it to the past week. Maybe I know it's in a certain project, another way to organize our work. And by doing this, my team can more quickly find things. Because the whole point of a system like Jira is to let my team get work done. It's to let, the people inventing Domino's Pizza to invent new pizza. So if they can't find their work, they can't really do their job. And this search helps close that gap. The challenge I've noticed is many people don't know that it's there and don't know how to use it when they find it. And they end up getting frustrated because they are using the tool in a way that doesn't make sense to them. And that's where just a few minutes of, hey team, there's this search bar and here's how to filter it. This is going to help you out. So this is something right away you can share with your team. And that's something else to consider as we chat. This isn't just for the 70 people learning right now. It's for all the people you work with and all the teams that you manage or are part of or know about. Go tell them about this one thing. Hey, there's a search bar. Did you know about that? Or send them the whole recording if they're curious. But share this stuff because I guarantee you there is someone who you work with who is struggling and frustrated and wants to chuck their computer through a window because they can't find things. And that brings us right into what's the most frustrating thing about finding work items. And I will have a sip of delicious coffee while you all consider that. Also, during the week, I post a lot on LinkedIn. That's kind of the social media that I use, in addition to Valerian. Perfect. Calling them work items. I post regularly on LinkedIn about Atlassian stuff and project management. That's a great place to check me out for additional learning. Rodney's talking about duplicate fields. Rodney, if I don't talk about those when we get into search, please remind me. Justin's talking about JQuil. JQuil or JQL is Jira Query Language. We will dig into this in next week's session. I broke these up because some folks just need the basic search, and that's good 90% of the time. The other 10% of the time, you need a power tool. So sometimes a regular screwdriver works to fix whatever you're fixing, and other times you need the big drill. That goes vroom. I don't know why I just made a sound effect. And that's JQL. We will talk about JQL in the next session, and I'll talk about a Udemy course I have on JQL as well. But the syntax for that can be messy. So I'm going to back up a little bit. When I think of searching for things in Jira, I think of searching for things in a spreadsheet. And what I have here is a made-up spreadsheet I just quickly put into Google Sheets. And if I wanted to filter this spreadsheet by, say, priority, I could go to that column and filter it and only show low priority. And I could, in a few clicks, I know how to do that. And I think about Jira exactly like this. Jira is basically a gigantic spreadsheet. I'm vastly oversimplifying what's going on, but the data that it stores about our work items is held in a database. And at the end of the day, that database is just a gigantic spreadsheet. Now that spreadsheet, if I printed it off, would probably be a stack 4,000 feet high. But this concept of thinking of Jira like a spreadsheet helped me figure out how to search for work items and helped me figure out how to interact with it in a way that made more sense. And so keep that in mind, even with when we learn JQuil next week, or if you already know it, this concept still applies. We need to identify a column we want to filter by, say, again, priority, and then something we want to find in that column, just low work items. And I almost said that word. So if I were doing this in Google Sheets, I would do something like select everything, go to column D, and say only give me the lows. Or maybe I only want the low that is assigned to Sally. And that would just give me the one record, JQuil 3, because that's the one that meets those criteria. Low priority, Sally assignee. That's all we're going to do when we go into the basic search, and that's all we do when we go into JQL. It just looks different. Now, I bet many people who are listening right now know how to filter in a spreadsheet. This is a very common task. It's a concept that we've just learned. So keep that concept in mind once we get into Jira, because that's all you're going to do when you go in and search for something, is filter a gigantic spreadsheet. And that's actually what they call searching in Jira. I still don't know why they don't just call it searching or search, because for me, most people aren't going to, don't intuitively go to a menu called filters. They don't intuitively look for filters when they want to go find something. They look for a search menu. Kaithra, when I finally had that realization, like everything just clicked. And that was a big like, oh, duh moment. And that helped me. And that's an analogy that works for Rob. So I share it with folks, and it works for some folks and it doesn't for others, and that's okay. But I'll encourage everyone listening, like as you encounter challenging technical things, if there's an analogy that helps you understand it, share that analogy. Or think about what is this like in my life somewhere else that I already know that makes it easier to understand. And that's going to close the gap in your brain between what is this thing and, oh, I can do it. So the filters menu, this is the old UI at the top, is found right next to projects. And that's where the searching lives, or what I'll call searching. And then in the new UI, it lives just kind of hanging out in the middle there. And it depends on how you've customized your menu. So one thing I like about the new UI is it allows you to customize it a bit. I am still learning it though. It's just a change in habit. Instead of looking at the top of the screen, I have to look to the side of the screen. And this is making it challenging for me in the short term. But I think in the long run, the new UI will be more useful for more people most of the time. So curious, do you use the basic search? And I put it in air quotes because they call it the basic search. However, it's still pretty powerful and it gets you what you need. So do you use the basic search, and what is the best part about it? Or if you feel like sharing, what is the absolute worst part about it? So I'm going to just make you all go blind with this screenshot with a lot of arrows and things. Justin has a yes, but. Like it, but hates how it defaults to last 30 days. Myra, you dislike how you can't find what you look for. Yeah, 100%. Definitely agree. Tushar's on DC, so that will be one big difference between Cloud and DC. The new UI will impact Cloud. It'll be on the left. Data Center will probably still be on the top. And the new UI isn't live for everyone. So you might see that difference. Your filters may be on the top or the side. Bruce uses JQuil more. I do as well. It's just become habitual for me, and I'm very comfortable using JQuil to find stuff. So I definitely agree with you there. Justin only uses basic if you know the work item key. The WIC, W-I-K? A new acronym. Kaithra, basic search is the first thing you try before JQuil fussery. Okay. And Scott, something similar. Basic search and then switches to Jquil. So I'm seeing some split messaging here. Kythra uses it if you know a specific keyword. And that's kind of what I've noticed. There are some folks like myself, and I think it was Bruce, who are comfortable with Jquil, and I skip the basic search. That might not be the best thing, because the basic search could be quicker. I can do 2 or 3 clicks and get what I need instead of typing out, 5 or 6 different conditions in Jquil. It can also be frustrating, as who was it mentioned? Someone mentioned it defaults to things created in the last 30 days. And this can be super annoying because it's a filter you have to go remove. But beyond that, it does have a lot of great stuff. I'll just kind of talk about this image and then we'll see this live. Valerian never uses basic and goes right to Jquil. Up at the top, we have the search, and this looks in text field. So this looks through the description and summary. So like Kythra mentioned, if you have a keyword, if you know the word sandwich shows up in the ticket, that can be a good way to find it. Next, we have all the fields we are filtering by. And this is a default list of fields, project type, status, assignee created. And that's just the generic what's going to show up. Now, this is one thing that confuses a lot of folks. They get to this search page and they're like, wait, I can only filter by these 4 things. And that's where this more button is hidden. Like, in my mind, this needs to be bigger, or it needs to blink, or it needs to do something to make it easier for folks to see it, because that's where you can change the fields that show up in the filter. So if you don't care about status, you can go into more right here and get rid of it. Or if you want to add another field that exists, you can reset the filter and save it. We'll talk a bit about saving. And then over here, the side are the work items, almost said the wrong word, that we found. And this is the one that we happen to be clicked on. So just to orient us on it. Now there is 2 other things in here. We've got the detail view, which we're seeing, and the list view, which will give us more of a spreadsheet look. And then this selection here is the basic and Jquil selector. Again, we won't get into Jquil this time, but if you accidentally end up on Jquil, that's how you change back. Tushar, basic search does not provide a Boolean or. Correct. I assume you don't mean the Oregon option. That's OR is the abbreviation for the U.S. state of Oregon. But correct. Our basic search uses the AND statement implicitly, as far as I know. So that means as I add more filters, it's going to restrict what I see. Now, as an example, if I say the project is Jquil and the type is story, I only get stories in Jquil. I can't say project in Jquil or type is story. That would give me every ticket in Jquil and every ticket that's a story. So I'll talk about that next week as we talk about logic. This is the same search, but this is just showing the list view. So here's the detailed view. The big difference here is in the middle, we're going to see the actual work item compared to the list view, which just shows them as a line. I tend to go back and forth between these. Kythra, you're spoiling the surprise for everyone, but you're absolutely correct. We will talk about saving filters, and if you want to use dashboards and widgets, you must save your filter. So, and Kythra, I might have you chime in a bit with some challenges with filters. I think it's in the next few slides. As I mentioned, you can add and remove fields to that basic search, and this was something I did not know when I started and really confused the heck out of me, but this is that More button, and you can see here created as being shown, but then I could go in and check these boxes to add or remove more fields. There is a little search at the top too, so I could just type in the name of the field to find it. But this is something, again, you can go tell your team, like right now, and to help them out, that'll hopefully and probably solve a lot of frustration and pain. Justin, within a specific field, it will use OR if you select more than one item. Could you expand on that, Justin? And this is my frustration using just a one-way, like just chat. We have these ideas and it can be hard to articulate them. So, Kythra was mentioning we can save them. How do you manage your saved filters? And saved filters. Rodney, I'm not going to mention it in this one. What I might do with this search and find series is just add another session entirely on ACL. That's AQL, Asset Query Language. Um, my goal is to try and keep these focused on specific topics so folks can come and get everything they need on basic search. And then if they want everything on JQuil, and then everything on ACL, and then everything on SQL, Confluence Query Language. I'm coming up with new ways to pronounce these things. But that is a great call out, and thank you for sharing. It's something you're looking for. Oh, gotcha, Justin. Yes, we'll see this when we get into the search. But you're correct. If I pick stories and tasks in the dropdown, it'll give me stories or tasks. So thank you for that. It's even more complex than I thought. You just had to go and make this more complex, Justin. I appreciate you, my friend. All right, so I need to have a request for ACL. I need a bigger desk. I keep adding stuff to my desk, and then it's just hard. So saving filters. If you use Jira and you go and look at the filters over time, they'll just be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Yeah, trying Kythra saying like include the key for the Jira project the filters in. The problem with filters, and it's like reports in many other systems, the name is the only thing that tells you what it is. So you'll end up with saved filters and you'll have hundreds, and it's hard to figure out what they are. I have not yet found an easy way to manage this. There is no, at least that I have seen, there's no built-in function to say when was this filter last used? Or how many times has it been viewed to let me manage it in the same way I could manage, say, a Confluence page. So give them good names and give them a description. Fill out these fields because this is all you're going to get in the future that tells you what it's about. Now, you might remember what it's about, or more commonly, you'll inherit a bunch of filters, and this is the only information you get. And then share it. If you don't share it, you have to pick viewers here, and then you have to click add. No one else will be able to view it. You can send them the link, and they'll just get an error message. And if you include these in a dashboard, they won't work because people won't have access. So you have to share the filter. This is another very, very common problem. Scott also wants to learn ACL. Awesome. Why? Justin, why? Is it turtles all the way down? Or filters in this case. Now, you can save filters, and this is something I encourage folks and teams to do. They'll end up getting a star, which is just like a little bookmark, easier to find. They'll have a name, and you can copy them. So there is this copy over the side. So if you have one filter that's kind of like your starting point, you can then go edit it, but you have to save changes. So it's not going to auto-save. You might modify the filter quite a bit and then move away from the page, and then you'll lose it. So that's another common frustration. People do all this work to filter down exactly what they want, and then they end up losing it because they forgot to hit save. So please don't be me, be better than me. And yet, correct, Kythra, viewing the filter and editing the filter are separate permissions. Typically, I leave my filters exposed to the whole organization, and I'll show you this when we get into Jira, because I don't see any reason not to share them. I might restrict editing. Oh, Rodney, I really like that. Make the person who requests the filter the editor, or an editor. I will also spend a lot of time, and this depends on how much time I have. I'll use Rodney as the example of, Rodney comes to me and says, Rob, I need a filter. I'll say, okay, do you have 5 minutes? We're going to build it together. And we're going to build it as you, so your account has it. And that's another opportunity for me to help my team. I'm always looking for ways to empower others. I never want to be the bottleneck. I never want to be the only person who knows how to find the filter. So when I have a little bit of time and when I think it's appropriate, I'll say, hey, Rodney, let's sit down and I'll show you how all this stuff works. Oh, Justin, my friend, why? What Justin's referring to here is if you have a filter that works, you'll sometimes modify it. Best practice is typically to copy it and save that new copy as the updated filter. And that will preserve the original. And the importance there is you have no way of knowing who is using that original filter. That link could be out in your organization and be the best thing ever, or it could be in a dashboard. And if you change that filter, you'll change it for everyone else. So that's another gotcha, another frustration that Justin is calling out here. All tickets is a filter, and then an open ticket filter. What? Is anyone else brain hurting looking at this? I think I understand the concept. I'm just confused why you would do that. Like, to get to your end goal, obviously, it just seems like a roundabout way of doing it. We're almost done with slides, I promise. The filters menu will contain your starred filters. And I always encourage folks to star or unstar the ones that they want. And that just keeps them up at the top. And then the recent ones you've opened. So Jira will keep track of them. You can also then go in and search for filters. This is the filter search. So as I mentioned, over time, your filters will start to fill up. You will see who the owner is, generally the person who created it. You'll see who has access to view it and who has access to edit it. Now, we do see the number of stars, so this could be a way to manage filters and determine what's useful. But just keep in mind you can search through these. You're searching through the name and description, the owner, the project, or the group. So this can be challenging to find filters if they're not named well. So please make sure you're naming them in a way that makes sense and has good information so you can find them later. Because future you is going to be very confused if it doesn't know what filter 4CT means. And you won't be able to find it. Before we jump into Jira, I do have a small favor to ask. I do sessions on Monday and Friday that cover Atlassian certifications. So we're doing things, both the professional series, which is more geared towards administrators, but also the associate series that is more geared towards average everyday users. I'm running towards the end of a cycle, so I could really use your feedback, and you can also give me feedback on just study sessions in general, what else you want to learn. So this QR code will get you there. And I'll also drop the link right in the chat. But I'd appreciate it if you could take a minute, even if you've already answered it, to pop in and just let me know what you think of these sessions or what we should go learn together next. And this is my magical portal into Jira. And that's not Jira. That's not Jira either. This is Jira. This is Confluence. This is Jira. Oh, I need more coffee. All right. So I mentioned I'm in the new UI. The biggest difference for folks, my menu's over here now instead of up here. So just turn your head kind of to the side like this if it's too confusing, and that'll help, or just rotate your whole monitor 90 degrees. The biggest two differences for the purposes of finding, the filters menu now lives here, and the search bar is now much bigger. I really like this because the search bar in the old UI is kind of like hidden up in the corner. It's a little box, and it is too easy to lose. So they've made it front and center. Now, another way to find it is just push the / on your keyboard. Now, that's on a QWERTY keyboard in the States. That's also the question mark key. So on my keyboard is just to the left of the shift button. So definitely check that out. Rodney, when I say certificate, I mean both. I am doing both professional and associate. Right now, we're wrapping up the Jira Service Projects Professional Series, the ACP 420, and we'll be wrapping up the ACA 900 Jira Software Essentials in 2 weeks. So I'm looking for ideas on both of those, or for other things like finding in Jira, other topics around these systems that you would like me to help out with. And don't worry about deleting messages, my friend. It's totally okay if I've already answered that or if it's in there. I had someone tell me once, it's better to be thought a fool for a moment than be ignorant for your life. And that advice has helped me be more comfortable asking questions that someone might think is silly, but it's really not, because I need that information to do something. So I'll encourage folks, please ask those questions. And if you then realize it's already been answered, just shrug and go, okay, now we all know. I'm just going to, one other thing I'll point out is we can now customize. Is my Zoom? Oh, my Zoom works. Yes. Sorry. It's been broken for a while. Under the More menu, I can actually customize what shows up in my sidebar. And this for me is incredibly useful in the new UI. The one thing to be careful of, you may have accidentally turned off filters, and this will just remove it from the sidebar. So if I do that and I hit save, you'll notice that filters vanished. It's still under More though. So if you don't see it, it's not gone, it's just hiding. I'm going to put it back though, because that's going to drive me bonkers if I have to keep digging around for it. Filters, chick. All right. Again, the new UI is slightly different, so apologies to the folks in DC. It will look similar though, it'll just be a vertical menu. What I'm seeing here is my search, and that's the top item. And then I'm getting my starred filters, and then all the other filters that are my defaults, and view all. So this is just how I go find existing filters. Now clicking on the filter runs the filter. And so this is that saved search. And I can share this just by copying and pasting the link. However, if the filter itself hasn't been shared, folks won't see it. Oops, and I'm zoomed in. That's going to be the problem with the zoom. So I can just grab this URL and give it to someone, but unless the filter is shared with them, that won't work. So another massive frustration is people are used to just grabbing this link, copying it into a Slack message, and then someone clicks on it and they get some weird error. And let's see if I can force an error here. This is the error you're going to see if the filter isn't shared or if it does not exist. Now, I don't know if this filter exists or not. I just made up a random number. But if you share a link to someone and they say, hey, I can't see it, you have to go share it. One other quick trick I'll show folks, filters are saved in Jira as a number. So oh no, it went away. If you look, you'll notice that in this URL, there's a question mark in the word filter and then some number. That number, 10,411, is this unique filter. So one trick I've used, I'm in Jira way too much, but I know the numbers of some of the more common filters that my team uses. I can just come in here and type in the right number, and that'll open the filter as well. You have to have access, but this is another interesting trick to move around Jira. And the numbering starts at 10,000. So you can have up to 100,000 saved filters before it has to go up one more. Now, to share this filter, I can click on Filter Details, and I can see under the permissions, right now it's private. This is why if I share it with someone, they're going to get that error. No one else can see it. This will also mean that if I use it in a dashboard, it will also break. So editing it's super simple, barely an inconvenience, as a YouTuber I watch says. I can change this viewer, and typically I change my viewers to anyone in my organization. I do this because there's no reason in my mind to hide a filter. You have to have access to the tickets to see them in the filter anyway. So if I can't see the RTS project, which is just in the background here, if I can't see this RTS project ticket, I won't see it in the filter, even if I have access to the filter. So keep in mind there's layers of protection here. So I tend to share my filters with everybody. Unless there's a super specific reason not to, it can clutter up their view in all filters, but it gives them access. As someone mentioned, give the person who asked for that filter edit access. Let's pretend it's Andrew. And then they can go change it whenever they want. So now if I were to share this with those groups, they would see it. I appreciate the Inspector Gadget reference, Kythra. I have not thought about that show in way too long. Justin coming in from the top ropes with some admin knowledge. Yes, so filters have an owner. When you create them, you are the owner. That gives you edit and view access. Jira admins, the people who administer your entire instance, your whole copy of Jira, can go in and change that though. Typically this is done, say I leave the organization, all my filters would become locked because Rob didn't share them. He didn't know to do that. The Jira admin can come in and help out. Now this probably is going to be like some kind of IT ticket, unless you happen to be the Jira admin, but you can get help to unlock them. I'm going to start with our search. I'll just hit the /. And as I mentioned earlier, this just starts with the tickets I've recently looked at. So even this, in terms of finding things, again, we're not searching, we're finding, helps me out. It's keeping track of the last 10 or so tickets I've been on. Now, under that, it keeps track of boards and filters and other things I've used. So just another interesting way to remember where I've been. And then on the right, I can filter these lists. I might say, oh, in the past 7 days. And this list will update and change based on my filters. So there's just a quick way to do it. Now, this search, I won't call it a filter, is a great tool. It's always there and is right up at the top. If I type something in, though, it's going to take me to a filter. So I might look for the word jQuil, and you'll see this list filtering down, and it found 2 projects and 2 tickets. But I'm going to hit enter, and you'll notice a couple things happened. I'm going to zoom in a bit. It took me to my search issues, and it punched in some JQL, some jQuil. Now, this can be intimidating for folks because jQuil is more, it looks more like code than other things. It's just another way to talk to Jira, though. In the same way I can click around, there's always the option, if you click on basic, to go back to that basic search, and that's where we're going to stay for the next 10 minutes or so. So I've got the jQuil view. You'll notice just a text bar. But if I click on basic, I now get these drop downs. The neat thing about doing this is this can show me, like, this is the text search for jQuil. I can then click on jQuil to see what is the jQuil for that filter. This is a great way to learn jQuil, and I'll show you some examples in just a second. But if you're ever looking at that jQuil and you're like, oh, I don't like this, click on basic, and you'll go right back to this view. So I'm going to clear all this out, and I'm just going to run a search for kind of everything. So this is searching for everything. I didn't give it any criteria. I didn't tell it filter my list. So this is going to be every single work item that exists. In the bottom right, and my big fat head's on top of it. Okay, head, fly over there. Whee! It'll give you an idea of how many work items show up. And in this instance, there's 33,000. So this is probably a very bad filter. Uh-oh. I see that word we're not supposed to say anymore. See the total number of blanks. You will notice this show up. Whoops. I'm sure the nice folks at Atlassian are going crazy trying to remove that word. I'll get my head back in the right spot. So I'm going to filter down this list. It's too big. In the search, I could type in words. Again, I can type in the word jQuil. And it found 2. Now, this text search looks in my summary and description field. So if jQuil doesn't show up in those fields, it won't show up here. And that's because we're filtering by that text. I'm saying go find that particular word. I do also have options, though, to go through project. Oh, this is interesting. And this is even new here. I'll come back to that in a second. So I can just check boxes. And this is what Justin was saying. There's an... this would say, give me every ticket in the project jQuil JSM, marketing, Rob's test space, or marketing team. So for every ticket in Jira that I can see that I have access to, if they're in one of these 4 projects, give it to me. And then I can, oh, I actually don't want this one. I can just uncheck them. Now, what seems to be new, or what I haven't noticed before, is this little menu at the top. And it's saying the project must equal one of these things. Or it does not equal. So they're sneaking in jQuil into our basic search. So only things in this project or things not in this project. So I can include or exclude these just right from here. So this is new. In the past, I haven't had the ability to exclude. I've had to use jQuil. I'm wondering, it must be in others. Yep, assignee equals and does not equal, type equals and does not equal. That's kind of cool. So I found these 3 projects I want to search in, and I can always come back to this and then add or remove projects, and the filter will just update. Maybe I don't want to see things from Rob. So I'm going to select does not equal. And you'll notice up at the top, there's current user. This is also new, I think, in the basic search. But this is really powerful because it's not like I'm typing in assignee does not equal Rob. Instead, it's dynamic. Whoever runs this filter will have their name inserted. If I give it to Andrew, it'll show things that he is not assigned to. If I give it to Justin, they might not be assigned to. I think that's correct, Justin. So it's more like it's a list of things it can be in versus the actual or statement. Because the or statement, will give us the Venn diagram expanded instead of constricted. At least that's how I think about it in my brain. We'll dig into that next week, though. And so here I found things that are not assigned to Rob that are in these 3 projects. And this could be very, very useful. This might be exactly what my team needs. And I might say, hey, I want to save this. So I can just click save. And I want to give it some name. And I want to give it some good name. And I picked projects at random. So it's going to be hard to give it a good name. Not Rob's assigned tickets in 3 projects. And then I might detail those projects here. I forget what they all are, and some other one. Whoops. Again, this is the frustration. I need to share it. So I'll share it with the project, I guess. Everyone in this project. Another thing to be aware of, if you do not click add right here, so if I just click save, it's not going to actually add this group. I have to hit add. And now when I save, they'll be included. This is another very common gotcha. People won't click add and they'll think, oh, I've added this people. You will not. Victoria, that the word is everywhere. You are correct. I work a lot with software development teams, and anytime you change like a core idea or concept, it drives them insane because they can't just like command find and replace. They're going to have to dig through pretty much every line of code in Jira to go find that word. And I'm sure there are automated ways to do it. However, that word must show up in Jira thousands of times. And some poor person at Atlassian has to go through and go find it and then go talk to the software team to go change it. So I can expect that word to show up for quite a bit, and I can expect it to be hiding in some places that folks haven't found yet. But now I can just save this. And now it's changed a bit. Up at the top is now named, and it's automatically starred. And what that starred means is it shows up under my filters menu right here at the top. I can unstar it if I need to, and I can also, I can actually change the owner now. That's nice. So I might say, hey, you know what? I made this for Andrew. I don't want to own it. It's now Andrew's problem. Bloop. Now, if I do that, and I'm not an editor, I can no longer edit that filter. So that's just something to consider. It's still starred for me, though. I can change owner because I'm a super admin. Maybe that's why. But you'll notice I can't edit it anymore. I can make my own copy, but I can't touch it because it's no longer mine. So that's how to filter. And again, for me, it's just a giganto spreadsheet. I can clear the filters, and then I can go through, and it's a different name now. Of course it is. I can add more columns if I want to my filter. Someone mentioned a frustration. There's 235 fields. That's not a lot. I've seen Jira have a lot more. But we can use this search bar to type in, I don't know, location. Does that exist? That does not exist. Office? I'm trying to find. Okay. So I have a field called office. I want to add that. Oh, and someone was asking about ACL. This happens to be an asset. So I'm going to get rid of that for right now. But this is how I would add more fields to search by. And so that's the basic search. And I'm running out of time because, of course, I'm running out of time. We're going to teleport back in. I mentioned briefly a Udemy course I have. This is a 2-hour course around finding in Jira. It covers both the basic search and JQuil, which we'll cover next week. So if you're looking for some additional learning, this is definitely something to check out. Again, 2 hours. If you choose to sign up for it, you have access to it forever. And I do update it. I need to update it regularly. Jira admins can change the owner on the system screen. Yes, you have the power. Tonya, thank you. Good to see you. And our next session will be next, whatever today is, next Tuesday, excuse me, where we will dig into JQuil or JQL. So that's the more advanced search, and that's the one that I use quite a bit. It's my power tool. Between now and then, I'll encourage you to get hands-on, but also check us out on Discord. We've got a Discord server, about 70 folks who are chatting about Atlassian stuff. The goal of the server is to give us one more place to interact with other people, to get ideas, and just to build some form of community. Because again, many of us use these products and we're not alone. We're not crazy that they're frustrating. And there's other people out there who we can work with to improve our skills and help our teams out. So thank you all for joining me. I love this stuff because if I can help one person find things more easily, that makes your job easier. But please share this with your team. Take one thing you learned and share it with your team today. Show them how to use the search with the /, or show them how to save a filter, or tell them filtering is just like filtering a spreadsheet. Justin, good to see you, my friend. But also pop me an email if you need to, robert@hean.tech, and let me know what else you're looking to learn. I'm glad it's a chill Discord server, Kaithro. I don't have any frame of reference. So thank you all again. I'm going to swing us back over to our intro video for a bit. Just so I'll keep the chat open if you have questions. But please drop them in here, any last minute stuff. And whoever asked for it, I'll look up and try to find a way to get an ACL training. So thank you all again. I'll see you all very soon and have a great week.